Welcome back to True Crime Lounge podcast here on Spotify and YouTube. I do have a merch shop for all your true crime gear. I also have a Patreon that you can go and join for early episodes scheduled for early access episodes scheduled to come out. For any update on my channel or podcast, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. With that being said, why don't we dive into the reason you clicked on this episode? I do have a few announcements I want to get out of the way. I do have a separate Instagram for just a breezy chat. Podcast and the Breezyville YouTube. I felt like because my other one I was using became my personal account, and the other ones were kind of like my public account, for family and all of that. But there is a separate account. I also have a new podcast called Sa- Sassy Southern Belle. I will be working on getting more interviews with that coming out soon. So be on the lookout for that. Also we have moved to Pandora as well. So you can now find me on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, and Sirius XM, as well as just a breezy chat. And once I get the first episode of Sassy Southern Belle out, you'll also be on those two as well. Now, let's dive into today's episode, shall we? Today we're going to be talking about the case of Aniah's Law. This case was the reason. This case See, here's the thing. I'm an Alabama native, and I was born and raised in Alabama, and I remembered about this case, and I was like literally one who pushed for this law to be passed. But this information is going to be limited because this case is still ongoing, especially ongoing as well. So, and as always, please remember to be kind, especially to the families of these victims. Anaya was killed in October 2019 and she was the 19-year-old stepdaughter of UFC fighter Walt Harris. She was reported missing on October 24th, and she was last seen at Chevron in Auburn, Alabama, the night before. A witness from the gas station claims to have seen her kidnapping, and her body was discovered in Macon County, Alabama. One month after her disappearance, her cause of death was determined to be a gunshot wound, and the suspect that was identified was Abraham Yazid, and he was arrested on and charged with her murder. As of January 2021, was being held at Lee County Jail without bond. His preliminary hearing was delayed due to COVID. On November 15, 2022, he was indicted by a grand jury on 3 counts of capital murder. On March 6, 2022, he was indicted by a grand jury on 3 counts of capital murder. And on March 6 of 2023, he pled not guilty to all 3 counts. The prosecutors are seeking the death penalty. And see, Blanchard's death attracted national attention and media coverage that led to the creation of Aniah's Law, which reforms Alabama's bail system, and I will talk little bit about that later. First, I want to dive into a little background to the details of the murder that I know. Aniah Haley Blanchard was from Homewood, Alabama. She was daughter of Elijah Blanchard, a Birmingham businessman, and Angela Haley Harris, a registered nurse. Haley Harris is currently married to the UFC heavyweight fighter Walt Harris, and Blanchard graduated from Homewood, where she played softball at the time of her death, and she was a student at Southern Union State Community College and was studying childhood education, and she was planning to transfer to Auburn. Blanchard was reported missing by the Auburn Police Department on October 24th, 2029, and she had been last seen by a family member that evening of October 23rd. Her and her roommate exchanged several Snapchat messages in the late night hours. At 11:09 p.m., she informed that her roommate that she was close to being home. At 11:40, Blanchard told her roommate that she was with a man named Eric, with whom she had just met. Blanchard's phone activity ended about 11:47. On June 3rd, 2020, Auburn police detective Josh Mixon testified at the preliminary hearing that the phone died or was powered in the area of the Clarion Inn on South College Street. Blanchard's roommate and parents found her behavior to be uncharacteristic. It was unclear if Blanchard herself had in fact sent the messages. Now, surveillance footage would show where Blanchard was at the Chevron gas station in Auburn in the late night hours in October 20, on of October 23rd. Though Blanchard's phone had not been recovered, police were able to use phone records to locate her phone movement. And the phone located at a Murphy Oil gas station that traveled in the direction of the Longleaf Drive of Cox Road in Auburn toward the subdivision. It was then down to the wire to Shug Jordan Parkway, back to the area of the Chevron gas station. From there, it was a nor- it went north on Southern College Street toward Auburn's Camp Road for a brief period before going dark in the Clarion Inn area. Her vehicle was last seen on a video with a tag reader near I-85 just south of the Veterans Boulevard and South College Street. Blanchard, Blanchard's disappearance resulted in extensive effort to locate her. By October 30th, a task force of several law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, the DHS, and the ADFS, formed. Was go, was going was formed. The disappearance was in the effort to find her received national media coverage. On October 5th, authorities found her damaged vehicle. The black 2017 Honda CRV, which police had reported seen to be in disarray and had been abandoned near an apartment complex in Montgomery and contained evidence of foul play, specifically blood in the front passenger seat. The blood was confirmed by the Alabama Department of Forensic Science to be that Blanchard was indicated of someone was suffering a life-threatening injury. In addition to blood, investigators found a bullet hole in the passenger side of the car with shell casings in the left cup holder. Police also have reported that there was an odor of cleaning solution with such as ammonia or Clorox. On November 6th, the Auburn Police Department released an image from the surveillance video footage of a POI. The following day, the person of interest was identified as 29-year-old Ibrahim Yazid of Montgomery. Surveillance footage showed that he was at the store at the same time as Blanchard. He is seen buying alcohol and looking in her direction. He was also captured exiting the passenger side of her vehicle. Surveillance video from the gas station show his re-entering the passenger side of the car. Blanchard and Yazid are then seen leaving the station together. In addition to the surveillance footage, a witness allegedly saw Blanchard and Yazid interacting outside the store to get near the car. The witness also claimed to have kept that they have been forced her into a car against her will and then leave her with her in the vehicle. According to the police, the witnesses told a companion about the event was told to mind his business. Yazid allegedly told another witness that he had Blanchard's vehicle, but he would not allow the witness to see Blanchard at that time. The witness also claims that Yazid had said that he had shot a girl after he went for his gun. At the time of Blanchard's death, Yazid was free on $295,000 bond. He had been charged with possession of marijuana, robbery, kidnapping, and attempted murder. The charges were connected to an alleged crime in January 2019, during which the assailants robbed two men in a hotel in Montgomery. One of the victims, 77-year-old man, was reportedly left unconscious, unresponsive, severely injured, and near death. The suspect is also accused of attempting to kill two police officers in 2012, by ramming his car into theirs and was arrested in 2017 for aggravated battery to the police officer. In June 2020, Yazid was charged with the 2018 murder of Stephen Hanmy. He was also charged with the attempted murder of a woman who was shot in the face during an incident which Hammy was killed. On November 7th, the police issued an arrest warrant for Yazin on suspicions of first-degree kidnapping. A tip led police to Pensacola, Florida. The Florida Regional Fugitive Task Force located him near I-10, Pine Forest Road exit. The suspect fled on foot and refused to comply with the marshals' verbal comments, leading them to physically remove him from his hiding spot. He was taken to Escambia County Jail and was agreed to be extradited back to Alabama. He has been held in Lee County Jail without bond since. He was moved to solitary confinement after his attorney filed a court claiming that he was facing death threats. A judge then determined that there is enough probable cause to proceed to a grand jury hearing. The judge also issued a gag order preventing Yazid's attorneys, prosecutors, and witnesses from speaking to the media about the case. On November 22nd, the police arrested Antoine Fisher, who went by Squirmy, alleging that he disposed of the evidence and provided transportation for Yazid. Fish had previously served a 3-year prison sentence for his part in a drug-related murder. On November 25th, police arrested a third suspect, David Johnson Jr., who was charged with hindering prosecution charges and against Fisher and was later dismissed. In regards to dismissal of Fisher's case, the DA, Brandon Hughes, stated that it was determined that Mr. Fisher's conduct did not raise level of accomplished liability and was originally charged as required under Alabama law. In June of 2020, it was revealed that Fisher has spoken to investigators about the crime. According to Fisher, Yazid came home to David Johnson Sr. on October 24, 2019, between 5 and 6 a.m. Fisher claimed to have seen Blanchard's car parked near some bushes during this time. Yazid allegedly told Fisher that he needed more gas for Blanchard's vehicle. Fisher took Yazid to a gas station where they purchased gasoline before going back to Johnson's residence. Yazid allegedly informed Fisher that he agreed to pick something up and Fisher drove north on I-85 towards Shorter. Fisher said that the pair stopped in Montgomery where Yazid obtained the item. He wanted a type of assault rifle. The two then allegedly went on to a cemetery off I-85. There Fisher claimed that he had seen Yazid drag and appeared to be on 2 legs wrapped in a comforter. Yazid is said to have spent some time in the woods before returning to the vehicle. Fisher said that he confronted Yazid, saying something to the effect of, "Tell me that's not a body," to which Yazid, "It won't come back on you or your family." On November 25th, human remains were found in Macon County, in the woods off County Road 2. Investigators would discover a skull, which appeared to have a bullet hole in the top. Along with the remains, um, there you go. Along with the remains, was clothing similar that was what Blanchard was wearing and that she had been last seen in. Okay. As well as a lead projectile. On November 27th, the remains were identified as Blanchard's. An autopsy determined that she was killed by a gunshot wound, and the charges against Yazid was then upgraded from first-degree kidnapping to capital murder. He is currently facing 2 counts of capital murder, one for committing a murder in a car through the use of a deadly weapon while the victim with the victim in the vehicle, and the other of committing a murder during a kidnapping in first degree. The DA is seeking the death penalty. A preliminary hearing was scheduled for March of 2020. It was later moved to April, but again postponed due to the COVID-19 outbreak. I don't know about y'all, but that was that COVID-19 is something I try to forget about. Um, and during the hearing, which was finally held on June 3rd, Auburn police detective Josh Mixon gave a testimony about the case. The defense attorneys disputed the prosecution's claim and that the crime was committed in Lee County. Upon hearing the evidence, Judge Russell found probable cause to send the case to Lee County grand jury. On March 23rd, Yazid allegedly assaulted several corrections officers, was charged with second-degree assault. Let's talk about the aftermath now. Blanchard disappearance and death attracted national attention and media coverage. The governor, Kay Ivey, issued a proclamation issuing a $5,000 reward for any information leading to the arrest and conviction. The UFC president, Dana White, pledged $25,000 to Ivey's award. An anonymous source also offered $5,000. The reward later rose to $105,000, and much of the money was coming from the UFC and the UFC supporters. Blanchard's death led to the creation of Aniah's Law, which reforms bail laws since the accused killer Yazid had been free on bail when Aniah was murdered. The Alabama's Constitution guarantees the right to bail, but all defendants except those charged with capital offenses. Yazid has been granted bail after being charged with kidnapping and attempted murder, which were not capital offenses. Aniah's Law would expand to the exception of serious crimes including arson, burglary, domestic violence, aggravated child abuse, assault, robbery, kidnapping, human trafficking, rape, sodomy, sexual torture, terrorism, and murder. The prosecution would allow the request for a hearing to regard bail, which a judge would grant or deny. If the hearing is held, the defendant would be allowed to present witnesses and cross-examine witnesses. The prosecutors would have to demonstrate that the defendant is a flight risk threat or a threat to safety to the community. The judge would choose to either allow or deny bail. Blanchard's parents and step-parents have spoken to legislators in support of the law. In February 2020, the Alabama House of Representatives voted 140-0 in favor of Aniah's Law. In April 2021, Alabama Senate passed by a 30-0 in June 2021. Governor Kay Ivey signed Aniah's Law on November 8, 2022. Aniah's Law, the House Bill 81, was passed by Alabama supporters. A scholarship in Blanchard's memory has been established by the Homewood Public Schools. In June 2020, a bench at the Patriot Park in Homewood was dedicated to her. On the fourth anniversary of Aniah's death, her family and friends are gathering in Homewood Central Park to commemorate her life. Aniah's life was cut short, and it shouldn't have been cut short. That's the thing. It's cases like this, like when criminals like this have bail access, that they can often do this again, which will create more. Now, you're probably wondering if Aniah's Law has been used in Alabama. Um, well, the answer is yes. Aniah's Law has been used. On the case of Case, which was a man who did go missing and was later found. It was a cold case of Eric Case. And a judge used this to investigate into the Dayville mass shooting at a Sweet 16 birthday party. In Walker County, the murder suspect was arrested for the murder of Eric Case as well and was denied under Aniah's Law. In Shelby County, a man was charged with sexual assault offenses was also denied bond. The thing about this is that this law is making it safer. I do believe that. I pushed for this law to be voted for by several family and friends. But yeah. All right, guys, that's it for today's episode. I will see y'all next time. Y'all have a great day.